Hello, it's 5 p.m. local time here in Warsaw. I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World News. Leaders from across Europe have reiterated that support for Ukraine as Russia continues its nighttime assaults on Kyiv. And as the terror attacks leave a trail of destruction, Europeans have gathered in Rome at the 4th Ukraine Recovery Conference to discuss the reconstruction of the war-torn country. Our chief political correspondent, Aaron Damon, is following the events in Italy's capital. Hello, Aaron. So what's the latest from Rome?
Good afternoon, Maciej. Well, it has been back-to-back days of meetings, of speeches, of addresses, of bilaterals for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Any moment now, he is set to appear just behind me for a press conference. Earlier, he spoke to the leaders in an address and he urged Europe to keep the pressure on Russia. Now, of course, a host of top leaders, top European political brass are here in Rome. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he called on Donald Trump to be on the right side of the shared common history. As well as that, Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, she unveiled a multi-billion-dollar reconstruction fund for Ukraine. In this afternoon, in the last 2 hours or so, the Ukraine Recovery Conference became somewhat the coalition of the willing, with the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron calling on in via video link. So those leaders met together behind closed doors. As I say, President Zelensky set to emerge from that meeting any moment now. And also in the room, of course, 9 representatives from the Polish government, including Prime Minister Donald Tusk. And this is what he had to say earlier today.
What we are doing now will determine where we stand 1 year from now. Will the guns pointed at Ukraine fall silent by the time we meet again during the next recovery conference? And so, from Rome, one of the cradles of our civilization, I appeal to the entire democratic world. Our consciences cannot rest while Putin attacks civilians night after night. Ending this war must be our common cause. Now is the time to begin a new chapter, the chapter of Ukraine's recovery in peace.
Earlier I spoke to an official from Kyiv who told me this is a meeting of Ukraine and friends. And yes, the official purpose is recovery, reconstruction. The official purpose is ensuring that Ukraine is well positioned to rebuild. But the theme here, with Russia continuing its overnight air assaults and America umming and ahhing about support, the theme here is ensuring that all leaders are on the same page and pulling out all the stops as this push for peace continues. Maciej.
That was Aaron Damon reporting from Rome. Thank you very much, Aaron. And we're staying on the topic. A meeting of the Coalition of the Willing took place in Rome, attended for the first time by representatives of the United States. General Keith Kellogg and Senators Lindsey Graham and Richard Blumenthal participated in the discussions. The meeting was announced by Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron joined the meeting via phone. The two leaders were co-chairing a video conference meeting from a British military base in Northwood, northwest London, used by NATO as a command centre. Topics discussed included a peacekeeping mission aimed at deterring Russia and the necessity of initiating negotiations with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russia attacked the Ukrainian capital with drones and ballistic missiles for a second night in a row. At least 2 people have been killed and 19 have been wounded. The strikes began at around 1:15 a.m. local time when the first explosions rocked the Ukrainian capital and Shahid drones buzzed over the city. Swaths of UAVs could be seen flying over the historic Pechersk district in the city center. Later in the night, local media reported dozens of explosions and the distinctive sound of ballistic missiles. According to Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, the attack caused damage and sparked fires at apartment buildings in the Shevchenkivsky and Darnitsky districts. The airstrikes also caused fires to break out at nearby gas stations and garages, and blast waves set off car alarms throughout Kyiv. The air raid alerts in Kyiv stopped around 7 a.m. local time, but the full extent of the attack is still unknown, as local authorities continue to investigate several impact sites. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen survived a no-confidence vote in the European Parliament. Although the head of the EU executive safely secured the win in Strasbourg on Thursday, the grumblings from European lawmakers could spell serious trouble for the remainder of von der Leyen's mandate. And so we are joined now live by our EU correspondent Angela Skujins from Brussels. Angela, how would you sum up today's events?
Yes, so the moment has been building for days. On the 3rd of July, the far-right Romanian MEP, Gregory Pipire, he launched that petition signed by 75 lawmakers calling for Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission President, to get the boot, as well as her 27 College of Commissioners. Now, this was building for days, but it was all over in a matter of minutes. Roberta Metsola, the European Parliament President, corralled enough lawmakers in the hemicycle on Thursday as they sat down to their seats. We saw Jordan Bardella, the party leader of that far-right group, Patriots for Europe, telling his MEPs with a thumb up, to vote in support of the censure motion, while we saw Manfred Weber of the European People's Party, the very party that von der Leyen hails from, voting against the censure motion. And the noes had it. There were roughly 360 that voted against the bill, with only 170 voting for. But what was most noticeable was almost 100 MEPs were absent from the ballot altogether. Von der Leyen also was a no-show. Instead, she was in Rome for that Ukraine recovery and reconstruction conference. However, she spruiked the win on social media platform X. Let's take a listen to what she said.
In a moment of global volatility and unpredictability, the EU needs strength, vision, and the capacity to act. We need everyone to deliver on our common challenges, together. As external forces seek to destabilize and divide us, it is our duty to respond in line with our values. Thank you, and long live Europe.
So we have 100 absent and 170 against the European Commission President. So Ursula von der Leyen in the end survived the vote. But what does this mean for the rest of her term?
Yes, so according to our maths and your maths, it means almost 30% of those MEPs that were present in the hemicycle do not have confidence in the leadership of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. We heard those rumblings from that far-right lawmakers in the hemicycle, but also those on the left. They say it is von der Leyen's last chance. They are angered particularly of her rollback on green initiatives such as the Green Deal, but we also know that lawmakers on the right state that they are angry over the centralisation of power within the European Commission itself, particularly around that defence fund being established without their own buy-in. But she has a remaining 5 years of her mandate. We already heard that Romanian MEP telling Politico, that news organisation there, that he could launch another motion of no confidence against von der Leyen. So we'll have to wait and see whether the remainder of her tenure will go unchallenged, or else she will sit out the rest of her days comfortably on the 13th floor of the European Commission.
Angela Skujins reporting from Brussels. Thank you very much, Angela. And that's all we have prepared for now, but don't go away as we have the bottom line with Marie Cato coming up next.